welcome everybody to a brand new edition of not Virtue and Vice, but this is now called Virtue's Rage. And of course, I use that name over on NoDQ.com to write my columns, and I'm just not feeling that lately. I may not feel that for a very long time. And with Robbie out doing personal stuff, he'll come back and join us once in a while. We really can't call it Virtue and Vice. So this is Virtue's Rage. We're going to talk about pro wrestling, and joining me each week will be Jargo from Men of Business. What's up, man? Tell me, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic today, man. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means, right? Yeah, I'm thrilled. I'm such a big AEW fan, but I will be watching tonight because I am the New Japan guy, and we do have an IWGP United States Championship defense tonight, going all in on the machine gun. Let's get that belt off of Moxley, and then I never have to worry about watching Western wrestling again until it comes to this show. And Virtue's like, hey, you want to do this? And I was like, yep, absolutely. You got a podcast, I'll do it.
Now, I'm not a stranger to New Japan. I got to see, I don't know what satellite feed it was back in the 90s or if it was tapes, but like some of the Owen Hart, Jushin Thunder Liger stuff.
You bet.
But like in the last decade, it's really probably been since like Wrestle Kingdom 9. I've been keeping up with it because, AJ Styles was over there, Jericho went over there. And of course, I get pulled in if there's Westerners that go over there. And I know couple of my favorites that are still there now, Jay White, Switchblade. I really like him. Naito, I don't know if that's how you say his name. Minoru Suzuki. So there are some people in New Japan that I like. But here's the first thing I want to talk about. What's the disconnect? So you're a big New Japan guy, right? So you're going to know the ins and the outs. And I'm not going to be going asking Meltzer any of this stuff. Hell no. But to me, I see a disconnect between New Japan and AEW. Not that AEW is trying to be New Japan. If anything, they're trying to be WCW, okay? But we know Kenny Omega is their champion and one of their big stars there. And he had a pretty solid run, hell of a run in New Japan. Moxley went over there and did some matches. Jericho, I remember the Omega and Jericho feud, and it was on fire. It was like, holy shit, Jericho's career is resurrected, and it's not in WWE. I'm not feeling it in AEW. So as a New Japan guy, what do you see from your perspective here? Is it just the way that it's booked, written? We know that's Tony Khan. I just don't feel like Omega strengths are being shown. Jericho has fizzled out to me, and I know he's 50. And that was a super hot feud not that long ago. What do you see from your point of view? Because I am not feeling it. And I feel like if I was, I wouldn't be so harsh on AEW. Not that I'm saying they need to be a clone of New Japan, right? But like, what's going on here?
Well, there's a couple of things that play into it. Number one, New Japan Pro Wrestling has that sports-like presentation that everybody talks about, right? You've got your individual teams, you've got Suzuki-gun, you've got LIJ, you've got Bullet Club, you got Chaos. So you can always default to whatever your team is. It's very much set up like a team sport, even though there's still individual sport, right? But you have that real sports-like presentation. When you come to the United States, North America, even Mexico to an extent, you start getting into the sports entertainment aspect. You start getting into characters. You start getting into more storylines. It's not the Western promotions aren't built around chasing championships, wins and losses. It's built around the more soap opera drama aspect of it. When it comes to Kenny Omega specifically, Kenny is a very, very weird and quirky guy. And when you inject that into storyline, he has had to find his character. Because in New Japan Pro Wrestling, he was just Kenny Omega. He was the guy that was going out and having 45-minute matches that were at the absolute height of an athletic competition. In the United States, he's having a 7-minute match and you got to get over with character. There's a big difference in as far as that presentation goes. And I think AEW has seen their growing pains through that. With that said, AEW had promised a more sports-like presentation when they launched. And I think one of the things that really has held that back was the pandemic era, right? When you're limiting the number of people inside of the building, you don't have any fans, you go to a more storyline heavy driven kind of product. So now as we're coming out of the pandemic, I'm very interested in AEW, how they're going to change their presentation, if they're going to change their presentation, and where the cards kind of fall there.
And then, what's the big tournament they do in the summer
G1.
in New Japan? So they do the G1 tournament, and that's kind of a period I'll follow it. I'll try to find ways to watch it because everybody's
shows in a month.
Everybody's talking about it. I'm not diehard with it by any means, but there's a certain amount of wrestlers in that I like. I want to see how they do and where it's leading to the fall, and most importantly, early next year for Wrestle Kingdom.
Well, so. I
casual New Japan guy right here.
For anybody who doesn't follow the G1 Climax, who doesn't know what it is, you have an A block and a B block. It's a round robin tournament. You get 2 points for a win. You get 1 point for a draw. You get 0 points for a loss. And then at the end of these, 18 shows, you take the winner of the A block versus the winner of the B block. And it's kind of like the Royal Rumble, where the winner of that singles match will go on to face the champion at Wrestle Kingdom January 4th inside of the Tokyo Dome.
Who is your early prediction to see best in that with the points?
This year, I expect Kazuchika Okada to win the G1 Climax. It's been a couple years. He recently lost a matchup against Shingo Takagi for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. And I think that was to kind of keep him inside of the main event picture, but just on the outside. So he's got to go through, he's got to win the G1 to get another opportunity at the title. And then Kazuchika Okada once again becomes IWGP champion inside of the Tokyo Dome. Now,
who's their top villain right now in New Japan?
Man,
not title related, but like the guy that the New Japan, the Japanese fans, the cultures, how they usually bring in a Westerner or someone that's not Japanese, but who is that guy?
It's Switchblade Jay White. Nobody has a more punchable face. Yep. I mean, he is the Bullet Club is at its very, very core the heel faction because it's a group of gaijin. Going back to post-World War II, Japanese professional wrestling has always been built around the invading gaijin wrestler versus the domestic Japanese talent. And so they put together Bullet Club. So you have basically at its core a group of gaijin who are invading New Japan Pro Wrestling. Right now, the leader is Switchblade Jay White. He's knocking it out of the park. I think he is the best talent in wrestling right now. I would think that everybody would be throwing money at this guy.
My hunch on him a few years ago, I like hearing you say that. Definitely one reason why I try to tune in occasionally as a casual fan of New Japan. Now, speaking of invasion, I think AEW has a ticket right here, and they're going to F it up and not do anything with it. I saw Dan Lambert, who I believe is the head of American Top Team, training UFC fighters, basically for MMA and UFC, and he cut a hell of a heel promo. It was everything that the AEW haters believe that AEW is, which to them it sucks. And he cut a great promo. They kind of paid it off already. Jim Cornette's like, that was a rib that he was representing the Jim Cornette character. This was all put into place by Tony Khan. And then Archer came out and put his finish on him, and that's probably going to be the end of it. How come when I tune into Dynamite tonight, I want to see this guy show back up, have his MMA fighters there. I think Amanda Nunes was one of them. I want to see this guy become a regular, okay? And if Tony, and again, he might not have any interest because of what he does, right? I get that. But he did some stuff with Impact a few years ago. Mm-hmm. If Tony Khan isn't going to capitalize on this great heel manager, that's what I see him as. You want to build like an Adam Page or your new generation of stars, this is the mold you follow. Could WWE send this guy? And then it's not the manager era anymore. So I can't even see them doing it. But I think you and I might be on the same page by our private chat. could WWE benefit if Tony Khan isn't going to? Am I blowing this whole thing up out of proportion? I'm an instant fan of Dan Lambert. Money.
I'm really mixed on the whole Dan Lambert thing.
Okay.
Did you see his run in Impact Wrestling?
Yeah, and I basically went on YouTube. I think I remember seeing it a couple times because he was with Lashley for a little bit. And I went back and watched 3 or 4 hot promos.
There's the problem. Bobby Lashley, the WWE champion, belongs to American Top Team. So you have the head of American Top Team out there burying AEW. And that sends some very, very mixed messages to me. Because if you are an AEW fan, if you know who Jim Cornette is, if you are inside of the bubble, it was a great promo. It was a killer heel promo because you're absolutely right. Everything he's saying is what all the AEW haters are saying online.
Yes.
My problem is when this is your first show back with fans in front of a live crowd and you're trying to capture casual fans, you're trying to make it over 1 million viewers on TNT. Hopefully you can rival a Monday Night Raw. If I'm a casual viewer tuning into that, this guy just buried your entire company and he is affiliated with the WWE champion.
That's a good point.
I'm really, really torn on how I feel about it because it was so catered directly towards AEW fans. And to me, that's one of my biggest issues with AEW. You can only market to the people that are already spending their money on your product so much. At a certain point, you have to get above 870,000 viewers so that TNT will give you more television rights because let's face it, that's where all the money is in professional wrestling these days. It's not in the live gate. And I'm afraid that Dan Lambert promo just turned off anybody who may casually be tuning into AEW to see what it's all about.
So what if they move past that, but could they still use Dan Lambert if he wasn't coming out and burying AEW?
Absolutely.
But instead he was coming out and putting over his MMA people and again, like you said, could he end up working with WWE? Now the reason why I say that is they want all control. I mean, look,
right.
They just had Xavier Woods go over their WWE champion, Bobby Lashley. So to me, that's not even a possibility. As great as it would sound for him going there and working there and doing great things with Lashley, I mean, they couldn't even keep that Hurt business together strong with MVP and the others, and it's already cracking. And it's just, I feel like Lashley's just downhill, and it's not his fault. It's just the way WWE books.
If they were smart, WWE has a great opportunity here, right? Because I'm with you. Like Lashley taking a pin from Xavier Woods, let alone a week before Money in the Bank, which to me is like their 5th biggest pay-per-view. You kind of scratch your head and you wonder what in the hell's going on, right?
Yeah, and he's gonna beat Kofi and keep the title. I mean, the Kofi run, it was nostalgia. You know, it was that pop right when you won it.
Well, I think it's even bigger than that. Because I think what the plan is going to be, you remember Brock Lesnar versus Kofi Kingston from about a year ago?
Yeah, I popped huge for that, believe it or not, because I wasn't a fan of Kofi.
So on Raw, Lashley takes that pin, and then at the end of the show, he's like, dude, I need to get rid of the girls. I need to get rid of the set. I need to refocus. I need to get back to being the killer Bobby Lashley. I mean, for God's sake, I just lost to Xavier Woods. I've got a title match on Sunday. I ain't got time for all this crap. So you get rid of MVP, bring in Lambert, right? Like that would be a refocus, getting more into the aggressive Bobby Lashley. I could get down with that. But here's what I think is going to happen on Sunday. I think Bobby Lashley is going to destroy Kofi Kingston in under a minute, and then he's going to come out Monday on Raw, and he's going to call out Brock freaking Lesnar for SummerSlam. And that is a money match.
And that should happen. And look, with all due respect to the New Day fans, as singles, they're a tag team. WWE's forcing that down our throat because they're the greatest tag team of all time, according to their list. They're a good mid-card tag team. Put Kofi in the Intercontinental title division. That whole world title, WWE title run he had, I get why they did it. But and Daniel Bryan, being the soldier that he is, put him over. But let's be honest, Kofi's not a draw. He's been, for everybody that complained about that Jinder Mahal title run, where he was just a jobber, boom. Kofi was a mid-card, or boom champion. I just don't like that. So I love your idea of Kofi losing pretty swiftly to Lashley, and the next night on Raw, Lesnar. And we get pictures
faster.
of Lesnar. He's in the meat freezers, and dude, I'm telling you, I'm getting that vibe. Like things are getting closer with him.
I feel like that's a money match. It's a damn shame it's not going to happen in a cage. I would love to see Lesnar versus Lashley in a straight up MMA fight. And if you're going to do something like that, bring in Dan Lambert. We know Vince and Dana have a relationship, albeit good or bad or otherwise. They're both about making money. Bring in Dana to be in Brock's corner. And then you have, UFC versus American Top Team. Hell yes, man. There's money to be made there.
And SummerSlam is in Las Vegas at the Raiders Stadium. I think it's Allegiant. And they're going to, it's pretty big for SummerSlam, and they're going to want to sell a lot of tickets. And, there's rumors of Cena, although we don't know if his Hollywood schedule will make it happen. We know
Does
Reigns will be in a big match. Of what?
Does anybody miss John Cena?
No, but Vince McMahon thinks he still sells tickets. So the speculation train is going, obviously, by being in a big stadium. I'm not even quite sure how he's doing in Hollywood yet, because he wants to be The Rock. We know he's not The Rock. But there's a certain group of people that definitely miss him. But yeah, you're right. Who's anybody miss besides Austin and The Rock and guys like that? Is anybody missed ever in wrestling these days?
It's difficult to put asses in seats, right? And which I guess kind of brings you back to Jericho and the New Japan thing. Jericho versus Omega, that was an extra 30,000 buys.
Yeah, and did they not, I think, have to increase seating at the Tokyo Dome for that?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that would have happened anyway. I'm pretty sure that would have happened anyway.
Nonetheless, here we are talking about the major companies. I would say it's WWE still number one. You could put I think AEW and New Japan are interchangeable, believe it or not, at this point. And if you're talking worldwide, especially. Are those the top three companies? they have to be. Everything else, like Impact is 69,000 viewers a week. Come on. That was like one of their last totals. That's just ridiculous.
I will continue to put New Japan Pro Wrestling above All Elite Wrestling.
So number two?
Until All Elite Wrestling starts selling 65,000 tickets for a show once or twice a year.
Oh, hey, Dynamite sold out for tonight, and I looked. It's the something center in Texas, TEB or I don't even know what it's called. 8,000 max capacity. Dude, in the Attitude Era, WWE was selling out 20,000 seat basketball arenas.
But there were also 10 million people watching pro wrestling every week, and now it's down to about 1.5.
Exactly. And is that what happened there? That's alarming. We are at the niche. Now, you say 1.5. I'm going to say it's still close to 2 million, because SmackDown, even though it's on Fox, they're drawing. So to me, there's still 400,000 or 500,000 casual fans. But that's not, oh my God. It used to be, like you said, 10 million.
You ask what happened, and I have a hypothesis on this.
Yeah.
And the answer is The Rock. I think Dwayne Johnson ruined professional wrestling. And I know that sounds insane, but what happened is when Dwayne left and went to Hollywood, Vince McMahon said, I'm never doing that again. I'm never going to make a star that is bigger than the company. I'm not going to let that happen again. Now the company is the star.
Okay, I see where you're going with that. And it took a while, because Cena was kind of he still was trying to push Cena as a guy, right? As one of those top guys. But it took that whole time, and maybe all those boos, because it was Cena was forced, right? Rock felt more organic because the era was different. And Austin was kind of already. Remember, Rock busted out in the mainstream. In the main event of WWE as a heel, because Austin was already there as the baby face. And then it morphed from there. But yes, all of that. Cena kind of was the overlap, and then all the heat went on Roman, and the fans were like, he was that built superstar, NXT, FCW, have whatever you have it, and so forced. And Roman really got the effect of all of that for the negative. And he's trying his best. But you're right. Now they are manufactured superstars, not organic superstars. And I could see where you say it's The Rock's fault. I mean, not like he meant to do that, just
It's
his career
Vince.
projection. And what happened.
The
Yeah.
way things went down, Vince decided, I'm not creating another Hogan. I'm not creating another Austin, another Rock.
Yeah.
I'm going to create, and to me, Cena's closer to Bruno, right? If you want to go back that far, where he was on top, but like if you look at Hogan's win-loss percentage, Hogan won 80% of his matches. Cena, not at 80%. It's closer to like, a 70, 75. You got to have your top guy. You got to have somebody to put butts in seats and sell the merch and whatnot. But how many times did he cut Cena's legs off before Cena became that mega star? So it's a little bit of give and take.
Dude, here we are, though. I mean, 2021, and we got snowflake fans. Casuals are dwindling, and I just want everybody to be interested in wrestling again, because when you said it was 10 million people, it was cool. You could talk to the diehard fans who knew everything about everything, but you could talk to, and when I was in high school during that time, during the Monday Night War and all that, ECW, WCW, WWF, jocks, burnouts, preps, some girls, like everybody knew about wrestling, and 70% of the people that knew about it talked about it because it was something cool to talk about. And we are just not there. It's just very niche. So great discussion. I mean, we had to like break the ice. So, we'll take topic suggestions on Twitter and all that good stuff. Everybody knows this whole deal. When I used to do Virtue and Vice with Robbie, we do about 20 minutes. We just talk about wrestling. We pick a topic or two and we just go from there. So any last things you want to say, plugs, have at it, man, because good having you on here. Virtue's Rage with
Absolutely.
Jargo.
It's great to be here, man. I very much enjoy being a part of the Vito brand, sitting down with you and Vito on Men of Business over at the Patreon, Vito brand, of course. You can also keep up with me over at hittingthemarks.com. It's more of a social, political, pop culture kind of podcast. And then there's also Destino, a New Japan Pro Wrestling podcast. New episode coming up this weekend as we break down Summer Struggle and kind of look forward to Grand Slam inside of the Tokyo Dome. Hate them running the Tokyo Dome more than once a year, by the way. I mean, like, it feels like it just devalues Wrestle Kingdom. It's just awful.
They still do baseball there, right? They get plenty of events.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, The Tokyo Dome's hopping. I mean, I'm actually surprised. There's going to be more fans inside of the Tokyo Dome for Wrestle Grand Slam than there's going to be allowed at the Olympics.
Wow. Well, that's because of the regulations they're setting in for COVID. But yeah, great having you on. I mean, this is going to be on Anchor and Twitch on the BigVitoBrand.com. I usually post one of the two, usually the audio over on NoDQ.com. So we're going to make something of this each and every week. So give us your feedback, people. You know where to follow me on Twitter, if you dare, at NoDQ_Virtue. And we'll try to have Robbie Vice on from time to time, and maybe we can have three of us shooting the shit about pro wrestling. But for Jargo, I am Virtue. This has been Virtue's Rage right here on the BigVitoBrand.com. Thanks for listening and or watching, and we will see you next time.